To the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. This is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda item remarks of public. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Zatori?
Yep.
Mr. Douglas?
Here.
Mr. Katowski? Dr. Phelps?
Here.
Mr. Thorson?
Here. Pledge allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The approval of the agenda, we're gonna add and subtract. Jackie, the subtraction side. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda, please? Do I have a second? Second. Okay, discussion?
I would like item number 7 from personnel to be removed at this meeting so that we can send it to the personnel committee and discuss it further for action.
And I'm going to add a resolution, which we just provided, and I'm going to do that 10F. You can read it, you've got it, a chance for discussion, but it's regarding some items that we have talked a number of times about. So, do I have a motion, any more discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Zatori?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes. Minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for July 21st? We'll do them together. July 21st or July 21st and July 28th. Excuse me. Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second, if we have a question on this, we number.
Yep. Discussion.
Okay. My only question on July 28th, if people in the community are going to read those minutes, it says there was a vote on personnel, but it doesn't say who the personnel was, and Mr. Katowski voted no on that, so the other board members voted yes. So anybody who's reading those minutes would not know what those minutes were. So it doesn't say.
There's an attachment for the personnel. Yeah, it's in there. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I just saw they read it, it said personnel. So if you look back, you could see he was approved, but I didn't know if people would actually connect the two.
Usually it's like below that. Roll call, so-and-so, no.
Right.
And it's not a big thing, but I just thought if someone was reviewing minutes, they would have it known. We just put it up there.
You know, pages.
It says superintendent recommendations. The motion was made by Mrs. Zatori and seconded by Dr. Phelps that the board approve the following. This is personnel.
What page does it say?
Oh, I'm sorry.
iPad.
526. And then it says roll call, yes. And then it says no, and that's the motion carried. But if you go way back, you have to go number 30, to see that it was the personnel matter. Or am I not looking at that?
The next page, when you scroll down, that's the personnel.
Right, you could see it there, but I didn't know if people would know that that's what we were talking about. It's a technical.
Do you want, should you say what the minutes amended?
Well, I would think we want to say that for people to really be clear that the vote that we voted on was Mr. Burnett. That was the vote that was approving Mr. Burnett.
It just says personnel. It
Right.
doesn't say what that personnel was. Usually it would say that.
Could you amend that, Sean?
Sure.
Just so people who are reading this who weren't here would have to look through it to know.
All right, so that would be the 28th. Why don't we do this? Why don't we make a motion to accept the 21st of everybody's agreement, and then we'll amend the 28th? And we put both these motions on for discussion. Do we want to separate them? So make that amendment,
I don't know, 'cause, I think maybe we can approve July 21st, and then maybe do a motion to amend July 28th. Yeah.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve July 21st, 2014 minutes as written? you have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call?
Mrs. DeTore,
Yes.
Dr. Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Thorson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes. Okay, the July 28, 2014, a motion with corrections for Mr. Bernacki. Do I have a motion for those minutes to be amended?
Something with you.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. Okay, roll call?
Mrs. DeTore,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Dr. Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Thorson,
Yes. Okay, recognition for retirees.
All right, thank you. First of all, this is probably an exciting time for you, get your name called. I'd like to congratulate and wish all of you the best for everything that follows your retirement. The district would like to thank you for your dedication and the education commission of WestG. So, myself and the school board and the district, we wish you happiness in your retirement. And to look back, hope you like the days ahead of you. We have a gift for you. It's Clark Force.
Barb, what are you going to do in your retirement?
Whatever
More importantly, whenever you want to do it.
Absolutely. I must say, I really felt like today was kind of my first day of being retired because the summer is the summer. And I had a wonderful day today. I was thinking of everyone, wishing them well, but it was very great.
Congratulations. Thanks for your service.
Thank you. It was 15 years, correct?
It was maybe 14.
14. That's right.
It seemed like 14.
One year went really fast. And Dan Masick. You here, Dan?
Yes.
38 years, right? Yes. Wow. Congratulations.
Wait a minute, Dan. I was hoping to hear what that honey-do list would look like after 38 years of working for
38 years of work and it's getting longer.
And is Margaret Susong, is she here? Okay. She was a maybe unattended, so I just wanted to so congratulations to all of you. We appreciate it. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Presentations. Mr. Whalen? School messenger.
We're switching to school messenger for our emergency calling service. I'm really excited about this. Over the past year,
Sean.
Hey, Sean, why don't we do this? If you wouldn't mind.
Everybody can see you.
we're switching to school messenger for our emergency calling service. I'm really excited about this. Over the past year, we took a look at various companies who provide emergency calling services to see if we could improve the way we communicate with our parents and staff. We were previously with Blackboard Connect, and we had a major issue with automating our parent and student information from Dazzle. Basically, at any time contact information was changed, we had to manually download a file and then go through an update process ourselves. This was very time-consuming and inefficient. One of our major goals was to see if there were providers who could automate this process, but also see what other communication opportunities we might be able to gain moving forward. We ultimately chose School Messenger, and the service roughly cost us about $1,200 less per year. The very helpful staff at School Messenger have already worked with our providers at TCCSA to automate the system for updating parent and student information on a daily basis from Dazzle. Basically, anytime information is changed, it will automatically upload. Due to the savings that I mentioned earlier, we were also able to purchase an add-on to develop a district-branded app. This will not only allow families to get alerts and updates via the Android and iOS,
It will also allow them to access many of the features and updates from our school website and parent portals for packages such as progress books or student grades. They will be able to choose which buildings they want to receive information from, as well as the district news. I'm having a phone conference with them on Thursday to begin building the app. Our main focus at this point has been getting the emergency services rolled over, so that's ready to go right away because it's our biggest priority. With so many of our community members having access to smartphones and tablets, we are hoping this will provide increased convenience on having school communication in a timely fashion. I also want to thank Mr. Kish for his support. He has done a great deal of work on our previous provider, Blackboard Connect. So he sat in with me as we spoke with each of the companies, so we were able to compare School Messenger's features to the interface that we had been previously using. This helped us choose a product that improves our functionality versus taking a step backwards. Having access to the history of our district's emergency calling service and what worked and what we would like to happen was really beneficial. We also reached out to make our decision to a variety of other school districts that were already using School Messenger to make sure that they were happy with their experience. And we even touched base with one school district that had switched away from School Messenger, but which they wished they would switch back immediately. It was very helpful in making our decision. Speaking of communication, on the last side note, one of the things we're going to be initiating this year is a review of our website, taking a look at where we might have broken links, also areas where we can kind of clean up the navigation. And also, in that case, are we with the best provider for our website experience from the side of putting up content, but as well as delivering content to the community. So communication is going to be a big focus this year. We consider that as WestGBrd a big, important component of what we do. So excited for some of the things coming down the road.
John, if we may.
Sure.
School Messenger with this app feature, what is that going to mean for a parent? Will they be able to see, for instance, the first thing I think of, school closings? Will they be able to see that kind of thing there?
It will immediately populate school closings through any method that they choose. So School Messenger, just like the way the service worked previously, if they sign up for email or phone notifications, it'll do that. But if you download the app, it will immediately also publish to the app. So it basically gives parents the convenience of being able to decide what is the most important way for me and what is the most convenient way for me to get information.
Great. And then they also, from what I understand too, for instance, if they have a history teacher or a math teacher that maybe not are connecting with their student, they might be able to get that information on that app as well.
What they can do from the app is they'll be able to access any of the parent portals, like Facebook, for example, straight from that site. Also, teacher web pages will be available as well. They will be able to change their contact information from it as well. So there's a lot of different options for parents as far as how they communicate with us.
Just making us a little bit better district to communicate with parents.
Right. And there's also a variety of features that are in School Messenger that we've never used before. So this is just the things that we're going to be initially doing. Rolling it out, we're also going to be exploring what other functions are there to increase our communication with parents. So,
appreciate all the work you put into it. Thank you. Mr. Kish, thank you.
for sure.
And I'm absolutely positive about this, but I think the community should also do this, because a year and a half ago, we started a long-range planning. The communication was a huge, huge problem that multitude of people, staff, community members, parents, everybody was saying that WestG had a problem with. And quite frankly, you know, what is the best tool to get out to parents? And something like text and like email, something like this. And I think that this really targets a multitude of those things that, you know, need to be hit in that long-range plan.
More importantly, we haven't really had a chance to introduce Sean Whalen because at that meeting you were actually on vacation. But Sean's a new part of our administrative team and working in our technology department, and he spearheaded this. We're saving money and doing a better job, and I think that deserves applause. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Russo.
Good evening, board members, all of you in attendance. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about an initiative the school district is undertaking this school year. Last Tuesday and Wednesday, about 20 of us staff, including building principals, myself as a central office administrator, a number of teachers, as well as some other invitees from some other school districts, attended a very comprehensive training session Tuesday and Wednesday of last week to be trained in something called ALICE. This training will allow us to do a number of things, and we believe it's an initiative that the school district needs to undertake. After 2 days of training, we had tremendous buy-in by everybody there. And what happened today, this afternoon, all of us that were trained then trained our staff at the 4 individual buildings. And that went very, very well. Principals all conveyed to me that the training sessions went very, very well this afternoon. So what is ALICE all about? Well, what the acronym stands for is first, A is alert. Now, we all know in our training sessions that we've had for years and years and years, we've always used code words, anything to not rattle people. But the reality of it is you have to be very forthright in getting the information out. If there's an active shooter or somebody in your building that's out to harm and or kill people, you need to take a very proactive reaction to that. The A is alert, so that information immediately has to go out through the school via your PA systems, foghorns, whatever methods you need to employ to get that information out. L is lockdown. This is something that we've trained and practiced for years, where you turn off the lights, lock the doors, and by the way, our doors are locked. They're locked daily. What you don't want to do is have to go out, open your door, and have somebody go out into a hallway to relock them. So they should be locked. That's something we practiced. So you're locking your doors, turning your lights out, and then you're hiding somewhere to evade an intruder. That's your normal lockdown procedure. The I stands for information. And what that means is that you need to be communicating. Typically, a person in the administrative office, a principal, somebody in command at that building will be giving information throughout this, God forbid, incident that could occur. And that information will be conveying basically where this person may be, or persons, where they are in the building, and doing literally a play-by-play. Now, not only is that pertinent information for those people that are in a lockdown mode, but it also serves the purpose of actually unnerving and confusing the assailants. It does a very good job of that. You'd be surprised when you go through the training, and we did a number of scenarios the second day, where you actually go through these processes. And even though you're not using live ammo, or it's not a real life situation, you would be amazed at how the adrenaline is pumping. And it's a natural reaction to flee when there's something confronting you, and that actually comes through very much when you go through this training. We're going to change the last two letters. It's A-L-I-C-E, but the way we were trained, it's actually called L-E, and then comes the C. The E is evacuation. In other words, if you have the opportunity and the determination is made that you're in an area, you're getting, remember, this information, you're getting this feedback constantly of what's going on in your building. Remember, we have oodles of cameras, we have access on monitors, so we can view where this assailant or assailants are in the building. So you have an opportunity to tell your folks where that person is. Knowing that, it's very, very realistic then to evacuate an area instead of staying there, remaining there as a potential shooting gun. It really makes a lot of sense to do so. And then, and all of this has to be trained, and this is an ongoing process, and will be going on throughout the school year, continuing to train staff, training students, and making sure that parents are on board with this, as we're also hoping the board will be on board with this tonight by this presentation. And then lastly, there's something called control or confrontation to, if necessary, thwart the assailant. And that can consist of throwing items at them, throwing books, erasers, whatever the situation may be, and even the potential that you may want to wrest this individual to the ground. In the training that we went through, it was pretty amazing. The guy that trained us was, he said he was 6'4", I'm not quite sure if he was 6'4", he probably 6'3", was 250 pounds, he's a pretty big guy, and he asked for 5 volunteers, 5 ladies to go up as volunteers, and these ladies were not big ladies, and they actually were able to subdue him and basically manhandle this person. So it's something that actually does work. So I think we had tremendous buy-in by everybody there. The training went very well today. I believe once you see scenarios, they showed the clips from the Columbine shootings, etc. Once you see that and it hits home that you don't want somebody sitting in a corner waiting for impending doom. You just really don't want that. So I'm very excited about this initiative. I think it's the right way for our school district to go, and I'm sure that if you would poll every person that was at that training, they would say the same thing.
I think, because I actually went through the training, I think I told Mr. Palmer about it last year, but I went through it to the clinic and all the hospitals that we go to, and I said it would be a good idea because the research shows that the people, Columbine, the kids who escaped survived, obviously. So if you ran out the door, you survived. If you laid under the table, the person would run the table and was able to take around all those people. If you distracted and threw things at them, most of the killing is done in such a short time that the impact is to have this plan in place. And hospitals deal with this too because they come in and hopefully it doesn't happen. But again, the first thing is, they always tell them to lay down. And the research is totally against it. So it's I think it's a great idea. I think it's great. This is cutting edge, and this is what they're recommending. So I'm glad that you guys were able to do it.
How long will it take you to have the full thing in place?
Well, I'm thinking it's going to be a process that takes the entire year. Not only we trained the staff, not everybody got trained, not everybody was here today. So we'll have to schedule additional trainings for staff, and then it's got to be taught to the children. They have to train the children what needs to be done. So this is going to be a process that's going to be throughout the year, as well as practicing what.
Do you anticipate this is something like a fire drill that we do on a periodic time?
I do anticipate that it will be some type of a drill, just like we do for tornado drills, fire drills, etc. Absolutely, it's going to have to be. And unfortunately, to be confronted with these things, we're all about education, but the reality, there's more than just education we have to involve ourselves with. So
we've been doing lockdown drills for a couple of years now. It's just a different. Now, and I hate to sound like Debbie Downer or worst case scenario taker.
Who is that?
But in the event that something were, it's going to be hard if this process isn't fully laid out until the end of the year. For those people that did take that training to not react in that manner and it's the old way. Do you know what I'm saying? Is it going to be steps like you're going to start
absolutely
implementing step by step?
Yeah, it's not going to be something we're going to do 6 months from now.
Right.
It has to be a progressive. Absolutely. But and certainly, any of you folks that attended, if you would like to stand up and say something about it. I can't speak enough about the buy-in by the people there. Quite frankly, as a central office administrator, I had some concerns about whether or not teachers would be willing to do this, because it really leaves that decision-making to each classroom teacher to make a determination of how you react to this situation. And quite frankly, that can be very scary. But the buy-in was tremendous.
Jackie,
I think I'm the only teacher in this room that did it. Everyone else was administrators. It really gives us options. And when Mr. Russo talks about rolling it out, we've already trained our staff today. So it's not a process that if something happened, God forbid, 2 months from now, that the teachers wouldn't react the way their training taught them because we've already been trained. So, and the biggest part of this is, like he said, it gives us options rather than making us sit in the corner and not do anything. So that's huge, and it's very empowering to have the information.
It's important to note also that, we are in the process right now. We've had conversations today, and on Friday, our students are going to learn about this. And, it's not going to be quite as extensive as, I went through and then the staff. However, there is going to be some time devoted on Friday following another drill that we're going to run or walk through to teaching the students and almost, we call it reprogramming, because in so many ways we've instructed the students to do what we have been taught, to go to the corner of the room as it's been discussed. And, there's some other tools that we have now that our teachers are going to convey to our students and kind of reprogram and say, it's okay to do this. You know what? It's going to save lives in the event of this unfortunate situation. So, so Jackie, we do have plans and conversation. I think that Jim might be referring to documentation that's going to need to be established and created. We'll have to sit down and really figure out the best plan for a lot of the different situations and what signs actually get posted in the room about this. And those are things that will come.
And what we've done to date is fine because that's your initial step. But then this is an enhanced part of it, where now what do I do now that I have detailed information about whether the intruder is in one wing, that informs 2 other wings that you need to go. And where's your meeting point outside, and what do you do from there? Because that's what saves lives.
Well, and I think, again, with the high school and even with the middle schoolers, explaining that is much easier to them. In the elementaries, becomes scary. And also, different variables of, common sense levels of a teenager and a 5 or 6 year old. If they're in the bathroom and this happens and they're not with their classroom and that's all we're teaching them is to, do what the teacher's doing, there's, it's scary.
Well, they did lay out some, age-appropriate introductions, and there's actually books that have been written to explain this to younger children.
And I don't think it's going to be, we talked about this in training a little bit, and our building talked about it today. Our generation did not grow up with lockdown drills. This generation has. So I don't think it's going to be as scary to them as you think, because a tornado drill is scary. Knowing that some big wind's going to come blow your building away, that's a scary thing. But if it's a part of their routine, I think it won't be quite as scary as we think it will be, because to us, our mind can go to the worst case scenario. A child doesn't hopefully have that information, and their mind can't go as far as ours can. And the program has the child component where they teach them about the sheep, the shepherd, and the wolf. And it teaches them the things they can do. So it empowers the kids in a way that you empower kids to leave for a fire drill.
And Frank asked me to mention about traffic patterns. Basically, what I wanted to mention to the board, those in attendance, et cetera. As you know, if you drove in here tonight or if you've been around the district, we have a beehive of activity at that football field out there. Unfortunately, with the rain and the weather, everything has been delayed. It's delayed. There's no question about that. And they pushed back the date because we're going to get about 300 tons of material for the field, the actual artificial turf. That was coming, originally was scheduled for Monday, then Thursday. Now they're telling me it's probably going to be Friday before that material is delivered. And we will be storing that material in this middle school upper lot adjacent to the concession stand. So that rear area where we currently have parking slots is basically going to be off limits. And as you know, school starting on Wednesday, we have buses that go up and down that road. We have parents that come in and out. It becomes a bit of a cluster. So, we just need to be up on top of that, make people aware, to drive safely, be careful. It's, the signs you see all the time on road work is temporary inconvenience, permanent improvement. This isn't going to last long. It'll probably be a couple weeks, and then we'll be back to normal. But there will be some congestion for a couple weeks until that football field is
Where will drop-off be when the schools get enough to that lot? Because right now we go through that lot.
Well, you should still be able to what I'm visualizing until I see the material, the way we talked about it several weeks ago, I'm anticipating that we'll be taking out those back parking slots, but we'll still be able to go through there. It's just that we're going to have to take the time, go slowly, etc. But I'm not expecting that to change unless something untoward happens.
So don't run late if you're a middle schooler.
Yes. Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, remarks to the public, please note all persons wishing to address the board have a 5-minute limitation. Please state your name, address, and topic. Yes, sir? If you would mind at that, that would be great. Thank you.
Hi. Okay.
There's no mic.
Oh, no mic, okay. My name is Bob Bauer. I live at on Chillicothe Road in WestGBrd. And I've been coming to the meeting for a while now about this bill, open enrollment. I know it's kind of something we've talked a lot about. I knew nothing about open enrollment until about 2 years ago, when the numbers got to a point to where, when there was 60, 30, 60, no one even knew anything about it. The numbers, when they started to get to 100 or 200, it actually affected me personally. I had to deal with some open enrollment parents dropping my son off at Lindsay. It turned into a very disturbing situation, and I talked to Mr. Bernacki. I'm sure he remembers me coming over and saying, hey, these people are blocking the thing, and he said we're basically going to have to show them the right thing to do here. I found out later, that it was, I thought it was local people, and I found out later it was basically open enrollment parents that were blocking the road and just basically like they owned the place, and they're intimidating me. I felt bullied. They're blocking me. What am I going to do? I'm dropping my son off. I have nowhere to go. Just sit there until they're done and move out later. My point is that until the numbers got up in that 100, 200 area, it didn't, I didn't even know about it, and it didn't seem effective. Well, now the numbers are even greater. Now we've increased even last year's number. We're higher than that. I don't know where we're heading. So what I did is basically you have to watch me on time here, I'm sure, but I put together a pros and cons for open enrollment. What I did is I took the comments from Mr. Palmer and the board, the old board, the things that were basically for open enrollment, and looked into them. What I found is the only sustainable one, and I'll listen, but the only sustainable one was basically we could keep our teachers. And then after I'm thinking about it, I'm going, well, wait a minute, how is it possible to keep the teachers? That means that these other school districts that are already hurting are going to lose teachers. So if we take children from those other districts, not only are we taking the hurting districts' money, maybe their best students, the ones that their parents really do care, and I'm all for that, take their money, their best students, and teachers' jobs from them. That's how we treat the districts around us. That's shameful to me, to think of that. The second thing is that's the thing that again, we keep our teachers, that's great for us, but it hurts other people. The other issues like AP classes. I find out that AP classes are taught by teachers that are already here. They're not paid anything extra. They're just simply, that's what they do. So I don't see, AP classes not an issue. I thought that AP teachers we brought them in. We paid for these teachers and brought them in, and that was something, big expense, and here I find out it's not. The other issue was basically the money, the money that it brings in. At that point, I look into that and find out that it's, from what I can see, it actually costs us money, because if you had 100% open enrollment children in the school, it would bring in, it was like 1 point. Oh boy. If you had, okay, bring in $11.9 million with 2,100 open enrollment students. Our budget for 2,100 pupils right now is about 25 million. So that puts us about 13 million in the red if we were all open enrollment students. So to me, that means that open enrollment students, basically, we would go broke in 1 year if we had all open enrollment students. So it's hard to say now, if you want to do the open seat thing, well, my answer to that is we have more than one classroom full of open enrollment kids per grade in many of the grades. So that means that we really do have an extra teacher, an extra classroom, extra lecturer for these open enrollment students. So that, I've heard everything about the revenue from open enrollment and never anything about the expense side of open enrollment. It turns out, from what I can see, is that we would go broke if we were to count on that as revenue. Basically, what I'm saying is that I would like to see open enrollment end in 2016. I took the numbers from the accountant and did the financial projection, and the difference between no open enrollment and the open enrollment is so small. When you graph it out, the difference is so small. And then if you add on the expense of the teachers it's a situation that if the public knew that we were spending money, that the board was spending money on teachers to educate the open enrollment students, I think there would be a huge rebellion against that. They would not like that at all. In fact, to go even beyond that, is I've heard nothing from the board about the expense side of it. I believe that that is a violation of the fiduciary responsibility of the board to the taxpayers, that they're not giving the full story, that they're saying, yes, we bring in $1.4 million in revenue, and never say anything about the expense side of that. I think that's a violation. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I live in Summers Road, Chester, Ohio, and I'm here to speak about girls golf. I'm a sophomore at West Geogga High School, and I'm a member of the community who is passionate about women's athletics. I'm here to speak about the women's golf program at West Geogga that should be recognized and considered a sport. The number of women that are interested in competing in girls golf is at least 8, and there are still more people reaching out to me that are interested. West Geogga has 11 women's sports and 13 men's sports, including lacrosse. Congratulations. According to the Ohio High School Athletic Association, there are 7 other schools in the CDC that offer women's golf: Independence, Kenston, Orange, Perry, Aurora, Berkshire, and Hawken. This is enough schools that we can have matches with. I am looking for direction from the athletic department, and so far all I've received is limited to no response from the athletic department and no direction or guidance. I'm looking to understand if we are able to have a women's golf team, club or varsity. If we are, what are the next steps we need to take, and if we are not, please let us know why. I know that women's golf had been a club sport for a total of 4 years. The 5th year, the coach was prohibited from having a team by the athletic department. January of this year, I started contacting the athletic department about having a team, and they told me that there would not be a coach this year. This was false information, and I was told by the vice principal that I needed to go to the coach herself instead of through the athletic director. I ended up talking to the vice principal and coach and finally got positive responses. This was the first time since January, and it was now June. Because of the lack of communication from the athletic director, I did attend the boys' golf meeting. There was another girl there, and we were discouraged from trying out for the boys, even as an individual player. I found it interesting that after I went to the boys' meeting, I finally got a response from the athletic department. All my inquiring and responding was also done through my school email account. I'd like to thank Mrs. Ledman for stepping up to coach. I know she tried to have a team in the past, but things didn't work out like she had planned. She's been very supportive in trying to bring back girls golf to West Geogga, but there is still no direction or guidance. We've had 5 practices and 1 lesson that I have set up, and anywhere from 3 to 6 girls have showed up, but I still get a response back from at least 8 girls. So far, to my understanding, there is some funding for girls golf, and we plan to sell Wolverine cards as a fundraiser. This money can go towards shirts and lessons and even practices. What I want for girls golf at West Geauga is to have the same opportunities as boys golf, for girls golf to be recognized as a team sport or club, for girls golf to be promoted and advertised as a sport or club. I want to have scheduled practices and scheduled matches for those of us who want to compete. I want gym credit and opportunity to letter in girls golf, and the criteria evaluated to see what needs to be done for girls golf to become a varsity sport. In closing, I'm looking for encouragement, direction, communication, and recognition from the athletic department to support a girls golf team here at West Geauga High School. Because golf season started, I'm willing to accept this as a club sport this year with direction and guidance, but I'm hopeful that next year we can make this a varsity sport here at West Geauga. Thank you.
Anybody want to try to follow that up? Very impressive.
I will.
Okay.
I'm Kate Navarro, Maple Trailing Chancellor. Everyone who has seen me at these meetings for the past 2 years knows what I'm up here for. I wasn't sure if I was going to get up here to speak, but I have this thing that pops on my computer every day. It has the Bible verse of the day, and I thought this was quite appropriate for me today. If anyone then knows the good they ought to do or doesn't do it, it is sin for them. That is James chapter 4, verse 17. If you don't go that route, here's one of my favorite quotes by Edmund Burke. You might have heard variation of this one way or another. All that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. I love that quote. I'm up here for any of you who aren't aware to talk about common core and the insidious nature of it. Much worse than anything that is known here. Anyway, actually I've said quite a bit to both former board members, current. I've spoken to countless teachers, a couple of principals. I have implored them to listen, to do continued research than what I already have done. I have passed on so much information. I realize it's rather overwhelming, so I took it upon myself to do it myself. I am involved on a state level, and actually I'm working with one of our state board of education members. And my kids actually encouraged me to come to these meetings, and they begged me, and I said, we need to fight to get this out of our schools. I guess I have a question for you. I can answer this question when it stopped being about the kids and education. And it's not just here, it's all over this country. 45 states adopted the Common Core. They did it for the money before the curriculum, the standards were even put out there, because everybody needed the money. The local school districts did the same thing. It happened here in WestG in 2010, early 2010. I actually took the time and read all of them in 2010. Quite wrote that. January, when it first came up in discussion, one of the board members, I can't remember who it was, said, you know what, I think the cons outweigh the pros here. This is not worth it to adopt these here. By June, no, the money is more important here. If it's such a good thing, why are 34 states currently fighting to opt out of this? Why is the largest teachers union in New York, which is made up of 600,000 plus teachers, fighting this? Why? Does anybody here know what House Bill 597 is? Good for you. Thank you. This is a House bill in Ohio that's up right now, and actually I wish I could be in Columbus right now because it just ended, I think, tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday night they were having hearings on both sides to present testimony. Not only is this curriculum age inappropriate, it's all about the test. Test, test, test. How do kids kids learn, when all they are doing is practicing to take a test. Answer that for me. How did you, now I understand now you're here the first time, so I don't think Ms. Bernard or Mr. Douglas received any of my emails about this, but I mean, I'm know for things because I'm seriously, I'm so involved in this. But I guess my question for you now, if you don't find it important, is we've got this Ebola virus out here right now. It's pretty scary, but I'm sorry to pick on you, Dr. Fox, but you're the physician. If a pharmaceutical company came to you tomorrow and said, you know, this is pretty serious, you need to start giving all of your patients this vaccine right now. Having been tested, would you give it to them? I would hope not, because my sons are patients. If they offered you a lot of money to do it, again, I hope not. And I think you have poor caregivers in there. For the rest of you who have kids in the school district, school-age kids, anybody in the audience, if you have grandchildren entering school, do you want them to be used as just guinea pigs? Bill Gates, the original financier of this whole thing, who started this whole thing in cahoots with Pearson Publishing, these people stand to make a lot of money and that's all they care about. Bill Gates himself said, we will not know the results of this experiment for probably 10 more years. You know what? I am not willing to let my kids be used as a guinea pig. I'm the type of person that not only looks out for my kids, but I'm looking out for all the others because you know what? This generation, they're going to be the leaders of this country someday. You know? A lot of us are old and we need somebody to take care of us. I hope they will take care of us and not hold a grudge because look at what we did to them. But what really got to me last week, this was the first summer. I have 4 kids for anyone who doesn't know. My husband's job takes him on the road all the time. And all of my kids are in activities. It's a challenge. This was the first summer, I will admit this, first summer I was not counting down to the first day of school. I dreaded it. In fact, yes, I dreaded it. There were nights I cried. I said I cannot send them back into that situation. And one thing that really kind of pushed me over was when I received information that the AP US History class was going to be so narrow of focus now. They were going to remove teaching of some of our founding fathers, Madison and Franklin. George Washington was going to be a small mention. Declaration of Independence, yes, in passing. Martin Luther King Jr. was going to be, there's obviously an agenda here. Most of it is going to be about the bad things that have happened in this country over the years, and almost kind of, I encourage you to look at it, research it, APUSH. We're trying to get our kids to hate our country. And that is sad because I love this country. I'd like to point out right now, I have talked to many teachers in this district. I'm not going to name any names. Not one of them has expressed anything positive about the fact that they're forced to teach. They're forced. Their hands are tied. So they have asked me to fight for them. And I am willing. I am so willing to do this.
I really do appreciate it.
Okay.
Can I say something real quick on, you know, you don't like it, but it's just one little thing, please?
Sure.
I was trying to grab you in the parking lot, I had not during, without getting in depth, especially within light of the new house. At minimum, I asked the board, maybe we can start discussing this and get a pro and a con for both of this. And so we are going to bring it up. We're going to be having a board retreat. That's all that I can tell you at this point. A conversation is going to be had about
How do we bring it to life? In closing, I have felt that my words and emails have fallen on deaf ears and blind eyes. I even tried to get a member of the print media to try to do a report on this, and I just wasn't result, I thought that actions speak louder than words. So last Thursday, I withdrew my 2 kids from Lizzie School, and my 2 older kids are still in the school. I have faith in the teachers. I believe in the teachers. I love this community. But this is what I felt I had. I'm going to leave you again with all that is necessary for the triumph of evil as a good man. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, treasurer's report?
Okay, I have my financial reports for July checks, statements of purpose and budget, and supplemental appropriations for the high school student council in the amount of $32,500, and the high school football cheerleading in the amount of $3,850.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Vettori?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes. Okay, standing committee, did anybody have any committee meetings? Here's gonna come, okay, good to know. I passed out a resolution, let me talk about this, item that we added, item 10F. It came to the attention of the superintendent and myself, and I think you've seen some emails among other board members that we've been using our email system more or less to discuss things that need to be discussed here in this room. And so that is a direct violation of sunshine laws, because any kind of deliberation or discussion has to be done in public and in front of everybody so that they have a chance to hear where we're coming from. Repeatedly, and unfortunately Mr. Kotowski's not here, because repeatedly it was that particular board member of which there was some feeling that his emails going back and forth while he said don't respond were in response to that. We had our legal counsel come here and say, listen, I advise many boards, those boards, I asked them not to send email communications back and forth to each other. Well, since we've had that meeting, and I think it's been about 6 weeks, this continues to happen. In an effort to try to make sure that we're not violating sunshine laws and that we're actually performing those tasks which we're tasked to do, our attorney came up with this resolution. And basically, I'm going to read this resolution. I'm going to ask for a motion in a second, and I'd like to have discussions about it, okay? The resolution reads, a resolution to restrict email access among board members. Whereas members of the board have been repeatedly advised by its legal counsel to refrain from emailing each other regarding topics that may lead to board resolution voting, and whereas certain members of the board have continued to send emails on topics of discussion that could be construed as rendering opinions on issues before this board, and whereas the members of the board are concerned that by receiving these emails, a perception of deliberation by emails may be occurring, and whereas the efforts to ask for voluntary cooperation of each other to refrain from emailing each other regarding topics that may lead to board resolution voting may have not been successful, now therefore be it resolved that members of the board hereby agree not to email each other. Be it further resolved that in order to ensure that this resolution is complied with, our superintendent is hereby directed to adjust, block, each board member WestGB email account so that board members cannot receive emails from one another. Be it further resolved that the board recognizes that communication among board members may be necessary from time to time, and accordingly direct that all communications be by an individual board member that is intended to be given to one another or more board members be sent to our superintendent for determination as to the appropriateness of the communication. Be it further resolved that this resolution, if passed by a majority of its members voting upon it, will be binding on its board members voting in affirmation for the passage of the resolution. Do I have a motion to adopt?
Yes, I move.
Do I have a second? I'm going to second the motion. Discussion. Please.
Before we move on here for a second, so if you could give me a moment. As I read, the first thing that pops to my mind is the very last thing that says, be it further resolved that this resolution is passed by a majority will only be binding on board members voting in affirmation for passage of this resolution. So does this then have to be, not only binds the four of us, correct?
No, that's not my understanding. It's not my understanding at all. You know, basically what we're trying to do is, let's say that in a particular topic, if one of the members of this board decided that this was a topic that they didn't agree with. Let's say that we were going to, well, let's take the recent turf project that we've done. And one of the board members had said, sent an email to all of us saying, you know what, I don't think we should vote for the turf project because it's, you know, it's a misuse of funds and it's not responsible and we shouldn't do that. It could be construed by us reading that we violated a sunshine violation, that any vote that we made thereafter could be concluded that it was a violation and be repealed. This repeatedly happens within this board, which is different from other boards. And so, you know, we've had legal counsel to say, you got to stop that. We've had discussions to whether to stop it, and it hasn't stopped. This resolution is to say, listen, those communications will happen in this forum in front of the public so that they're apprised of what's going on as the reason why sunshine laws are created. So the resolution was constructed to protect that. So no, that's not my interpretation. It will only be binding on board members voting on the affirmation for passage of the resolution. So then
It will only be binding for those that vote yes for it.
yeah. Yeah, so by majority of us voting, Jackie, my interpretation is if there's a majority of the board that believes in this, then it's binding on the board members. That was my interpretation.
Does this apply just to our WestGBr email accounts or our personal account?
Quite frankly, there's no control or constraint over that. However, you know, we continue to try to be as transparent as we can. And that transparency is to have those discussions here and not privately, publicly on any kind of format. The only safeguard that we have is the WestG email. And again, I have to remind you that we appear to be the only board doing this, and it's got to stop. And if you go past the stop sign, this is all that we have to try to resolve that. My fear is that any one board member could decide that there was something that they didn't want to go through with, and they just have to simply send an email to the 4 or 5 board members, and you can't vote on it. It's a sunshine violation.
I have sent an email a month, so I don't have a problem doing that. Just want to make sure that, so you're just blocking you and I from sending email to each other, but Mr. Nutter will still be able to send us all the documentation and thing as a group, anything that we may need. Now, but you won't be able to reply back to that, will we? I mean, because if you're going to go as far as that, I feel that, if Mr. Nutter says something, all that it has to do is be a reply.
People would have to be replying to Mr. Nutter, not the whole board.
Right. So, everybody needs to be, blind carbon copy when they're sent to it, because it just is a reply to go back. I don't know how far, this is the first time I'm seeing it, but
Sure. No.
didn't even say,
Sure.
I don't know how far you're wanting to go with this, but in technology, and every single thing will have to be blind carbon copy, otherwise you can just reply all, and that same mistake could be happening from Mr. Nutter's email to us. You go right back out to the Bible.
I see what you're saying. And from that, it would be sort of a technology question, Sean. At how we, the purpose, how do you resolve the issue?
That wouldn't work, because what would happen was in that case, it would recognize that your names are on it, and it would send you back a message saying you cannot send this email because your name is on it. The way the restriction would work would be, you would be able to email Mr. Nutter with no problem at all. But the second that the rest of the group would be on it, they would recognize that and push back and reject the email because you're on it. So you would have full freedom to email anybody in and out of our WestG organization through your email address, but the second that your names were attached to it, if we set it up that way, it would not allow you to send or receive emails to when any of the board members are on it. that would be important.
The unfortunate part is it's a shame that we
And I
have
was just to say, this is so sad, but.
However, this is just, I mean, again, this was 6 weeks ago, we had this discussion and it continues. I mean, in time, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Part of this stems from, you know, a continued email campaign that you responded to the solicitor, to our attorney, to say, hey, listen, how do I get out of the loop? And it hasn't.
Right. And Don Petruski had come and talked to us, and he had said that we should not email and stuff. And I took that literally to mean, you know, if you're emailing me to tell me there's a meeting tomorrow, that would be one thing. But if you're emailing to tell me about the all sports program and what's going on with that program, what my feeling is, and what should happen, that email's come to me. And, you know, and I've opened it, I've looked at it, and I was uncomfortable getting emails from any board member, not for the attorney, told me, don't do it. Now, maybe I'm taking it literally, but I said I don't want that, because I don't want to, you know. I feel that we went through in the first 6 months, too much trauma for me to put myself in any position of wanting to respond to something that I didn't like.
Sure.
Because, you know, there were comments that were put in, you know, before I, as a newborn member, I don't know if I agree with that. You know, but let's not send it. So there's not even a chance to comment. You should comment here. If you're going to pass me information about the all sports presentation, let the state letter pass me that information. I don't want it to come from a board member. I don't want to even have a remote chance of hiring thank you for responding. Like, I don't agree or I do. I just don't. So
Any kind of deliberation regarding any of those subjects cannot be had between board members unless they're in a meeting in front of the public.
And I asked that it not happen, and it happened again. I don't want to have this either, and I definitely don't like all the policies that we went over at the beginning of the year. The 50 policies that say, like, you have to shake hands, you have to do this, you have to do that. Those are, you know, some of those policies are so redundant and so micromanaging that we went through at the beginning of the year. But I also don't want to be put in a position where, you know, information that is about something we're voting on is sent to me, because I don't, you know, so how do we put this on at risk? Right. So I guess that's my question. You know,
That was the reason this policy was dropped. Mike and I had some discussion. Mike involved Mr. Podgorski, our legal attorney, and we asked how we could resolve this from, because again, I go back to the fear is that if discussions are had prior to a board meeting for deliberations, as such, they're a sunshine violation. We've had numerous public records requests looking to see if there were sunshine violations. This seemed to be a way, you know, that we could avoid that.
Well, certainly.
I would add also that I'm not crazy about this policy, but it is consistent with what I learned in new board member training in Columbus. And they told us clearly, do not use email to send any message. And even if you said this is a great program, that could be construed as I'm trying to impact how you feel about that particular topic. And it's terrible that we live in a world like this, that every little thing has to be scripted and legislated like this. I just hate this kind of thing. But unfortunately, it is a sign of the times, and it is consistent with what I learned in Columbus and what I heard from 2 different attorneys. Be very afraid of email. So you won't get any email. I'm telling you that right now. If I get an email, that would be a lie. Michael Douglas said I sent you an email that would not respond to you for, been included, because it is a trap. And I'm not doing it. So
I talked about this too, and the head attorney for the school board association told me 2 things. Don't email and don't micromanage. And she said, don't be involved in things you shouldn't be involved in, and don't email. So I mean, I feel strongly about it, that if we shouldn't be emailing, then is it a blanket thing? I shouldn't email. But I feel bad that we have to put it
That we have to go to this point? I couldn't agree more with you.
Right before this meeting, I walked into the church and had some information for me, and I said to her, I said, have public records requests come down drastically. She said, absolutely drastically. I mean, we're still gonna do public records requests because people still wanna see our finances, still wanna see their
Which is fine,
receipts.
which is the right of the public.
I feel the same exact way, Michael. I hate it. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, because I feel like it's another one adding to our 0123. And I do not want to be scrutinized anymore for.
Shawna, roll call.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mrs. DeTore?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Okay, superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Dora. I will turn this one section over to you.
Okay, and maybe with a little support and help from you. Hopefully, I don't know if you all read the 160 pages of policy that I did, but I've been reading it for months because we got it quite some time ago. And we had met, I don't know what it was, May or end of May, with Tim from Neola. Again, Dr. Phelps, I will reiterate this, not always the best time management in Neola, because sometimes we ask them for months to even meet with us to go over this to help us understand it. And it has now been 2 months since I've asked them to look at 0123, and then we also the one that Ben had sent to us to review as well, and still no response back. So I will keep pushing, and hopefully we get some type of response out of that we have something to reference at a meeting in the future to go on that. But at this note, this is the packet that we're approving. I will just really quickly give you guys about a 2 or 3 minute. I don't know if any of you had any questions or anything like that, but I think this is the first time. Have you guys done any? Okay, so everybody here right now, this is the first time you're seeing policy. 90% of the policies that we get are law. There's not much we can do other than try to understand them. We can't change or modify what's been given to us. And Neola is the company that helps us interpret that into our own policies and get them in there for us. So if you're reading through and there's an ORC code or an HB, House bill or something at the bottom, that means that's a policy we have to adopt. There is some room in some of them that we are getting today. I know that it probably was not struck through in the copies that you guys got. I don't know if any of you guys got these or not. In the packet that you guys got, was there a summary of those, or were they just individual policies? Individual policies. Okay, so we did a summary of them, and they kind of just give a sentence or two to help you understand what they're about. One of them, if any of you have read this, 0157, it's not needed for our district, so that is one that we will not be accepting in the packet that we have. Some of them don't. It's just depending on what this one is, the appointment of an educational school district board. Executive sessions, this is just updating us and keeping us consistent with the law that's out there and allowing us some more options for things that we can and can't do in an executive session. A lot of this packet is just going to bring us up before the discrimination laws. So they're going to talk about transgender, applying that in there, and then it's going to reiterate 4 times. So you're going to see the same policy just to go for teachers and classified in administration, so on and so forth. So you'll see multiplications. That's why they call it so large. It just has to be reiterated over and over. With ours, I think we were keeping. We have an option of who we choose to be a reporter, and so we have left ours to be the superintendent or designee, which would allow the superintendent to choose somebody to be that designee in the event that the superintendent doesn't want to. Then there's policy 1619, that's another one that we're going to strike out. We are not going to use that because we followed the second one for fully insured groups. Same thing with the next group, it's more discrimination. There's one. It was our people personnel, which it may remain, or a trained person, but the superintendent is that, or designee is where it comes in.
Okay, have you named somebody yet?
Yeah. And just so you know, your pack, the online version, it's in color, so it got to blue.
And there's actually one really good one that I think that it's so small, but it really helps us in a meeting not have to go through the first reading, second reading, which is the first one, technical corrections. They should have done this years ago, because sometimes even when there's just errors in, this will just allow us to do that without doing the meetings over and over, just for grammar errors and, technical things. So they're finally letting us do that. We do have a choice, so this is the first reading, so if you haven't been able to, please review policy 6800. This is a choice option for us. It's a new policy that talks about system of accounting. It's obviously that they say it's recommended but not required, because a lot of districts, often you'll see Neola give us recommendations because they're over and over seeing districts ask and ask and ask. And so they create something that is general form for everybody and allows it to pick. So if you didn't have any questions now, please read it again, at least that one, because that's a choice option for us. There's one that's going to be deleted because we no longer follow it, and that should be it. Anybody have any questions? No? If you guys all could, at least have a second reading, touch base at 6800, that would be great.
Thank you. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of policy create. You not heard back from Tim?
I didn't.
I'll follow up.
Yeah, please again.
When is the second reading?
There'll be consecutive meetings right after next quarter.
Okay, just a few other things under my report. Just, opening day obviously begins Wednesday. We wish everybody luck and hopefully a positive school year, and everybody learns a lot and has a little fun, and let's have a great year. So, opening day, Wednesday. So you'll watch out for the buses. We'll be I'm running across a couple. It surprised me here now. Some kids are back in school. I'm like, well, I forgot the guys are back on the road. So, school update. Basically what we want to do here is communicate as effectively as possible, while at the same time being, responsible with the money that we do spend. When we look at the website provider, and Mr. Whalen is doing a really good job on that. Our goal is to get information out to you. So you'll probably see a new look on our webpage in the future. And one of those things is, can we get video uploads? Can we get some of those things out to you? I've noticed over the years that people read less and less and watch more and more. It's just sort of the nature of media, it seems like. So if we can get out, snippets of information, whether it be a video, those are sometimes helpful. So we'll keep everybody informed and in the loop, and obviously look around and receive some input as well. I know Ms. Webb reinstituted the technology committee. We've looked at combining technology and curriculum together. We don't think that they stand alone. We do believe, our belief as educators, that technology is part of curriculum. So we'll be working together on that as we move forward. Personnel update. I know we've got some transfers, some new hires. I know Mr. Bernacki is here, Director of Human Services. He's here. And we have, hold on a minute, Chief for a second.
I can introduce.
You want to do it?
Sure, absolutely.
Practice his name, Jay. Okay. Go ahead.
This is Mike Morosky, our new assistant principal at the high school. Just to tell you a little bit about Mike, he's a retired Cleveland Public Schools teacher, principal, assistant principal, and principal. He was an assistant principal for 21 years, a principal for 9 years, and recently, I suppose, you're principal at Collinwood High School as well as Wilbur Wright Middle School. So, bringing a vast amount of experience, knowledge, and we're looking forward to having him. Thank you. And in addition, he has 2 children that graduated from West Young.
And also, Ron Dahlhoff, he was here earlier. He was moved from the assistant high school and over to Lindsay, so he's been with us for quite a while, but transferred on the west. And Kim Razak, she's not here, she is out of town. However, she did send her condolences. She'll be our alumni liaison, and you met Mr. Sean Williams as well, giving his presentation as he has moved to the technology director assignment to help move this district forward through academics and communication. So that's the report that I had for the personnel update, new hires. And as we move forward, for the OAAs and some of these testing, the testing that we do get, I do want to put forth, compile a pretty detailed, not a long, but a detailed brief presentation for everybody to see how well we truly are doing. So I think sometimes it gets lost how well that we do. So everybody know that.
What do you think that update on?
For the testing, I look for all that to do with the next board meeting.
Great.
So.
There's nothing to.
Oh, okay, this is just a thing. Can I just ask you a quick question? Or maybe ask Mr. Russo, how is the routing? Not the response I wanted.
We'll know for sure Wednesday. No, but it's done. The routing is done. We sent out postcards to all parents as opposed to putting the information in the email. That's the touchy subject. People don't want that publicly notice out there what their kids are.
Is that the first year you've been a postcard? Because I asked.
Yeah.
It's a good way to do it. There's a lot of issues to it.
Yeah, I like it. And then I have one more note. The key here is that it can be extremely frustrating when you're expecting your kid to be home at XYZ and they're 20 or 30 minutes late and you become frantic and you can worry. But we really, really have to emphasize to our parents patience that first week or two. And I've already forewarned, I said, new board members, it becomes an overwhelming email from the community the first, week or two of school. Everybody is so angry about transportation.
And I would really ask for some patience also. We have a new supervisor. Again, we're just like every school district in Ohio, we're hurting the subs. It's just a constant issue. So yeah, I would certainly ask for patience. We'll get it done well, but that's still going to
Yeah, I agree. Wednesday's always a long day.
Okay, so moving into personnel, creation of two positions, licensing, practicing nurse, and medical assistant. We need a motion?
Are these going to be separate?
Yes. So moved. Do I have a second? Discussion.
Yeah, we looked at this, we reviewed this, there were some options on the table. We just want to make sure that we have everybody covered, so to speak, from a nursing standpoint. We have, you have several kids, ranging from different needs. We want to make sure, for their sake and for everybody's sake, that we've got everything that they need in place. So this was a plan that was put together. It was reviewed. There were a few options. There was contracted services as one option through a company called PSI, and then it was basically our own people. And the question comes into, it's not a matter of I'm teaching social studies on Wednesday, so I have a sub come and do it. The issue is these are people and their children, and if there's a certain need that they have or a certain routine they have, our own people would know that, and at least if we had our own people on site, we know that those are the people coming in. Sometimes when you have temp agencies, we get different people in and out. They may have the qualifications or the certification, but they don't know our kids. So as we went through this, I know this was reviewed by some medical personnel as well, and I asked Mr. Bernanke to go over it as well. We went over it, we went over the union, and we pretty much went over with our current nurse. We've been working on this for a while, So the recommendation would be to create these two positions. Currently, we don't have them. They were, one of them, I believe, was a contracted service, a medical assistant, and we believe that the need here to get an LPN is the way to go with another medical assistant. So that's the recommendation, create those two positions, and we would fill them. Again, fill them until they're created. However, that's the rationale behind the recommendation.
I'm so happy for this because I'm beyond happy for this because I've been fighting for some extra medical work for a while. I have two questions. The licensed practicing nurse, we've had, correct? It's just that we've been outsourcing?
No.
No.
No, I think we had an RN and two medical assistants.
Two medical. One medical assistant. So my next question is again, not to sound just the flip side because this is, the community likes to know this. Two years ago, we cut it. I don't know how far back, we've been told. But we reduced in our medical field. Bringing these two positions on, I only saw the option with the PSI, and that was laid out cost-wise. What is this cost in comparison to where we used to be? Is there still a savings compared to where we were 2 years ago before we reduced, or is it additional cost?
I'd have to ask you.
It's still less. So even though we reduced and we're adding more back on, it's still the same.
Correct.
And we're getting more bodies.
Correct.
But however, it is more expensive than the PSI option.
Correct.
I mean, it is. But the reason that we chose that was for the reasons I just stated. It's better for kids, aren't it?
They were pretty full-time, helping full-time,
RN and medical assistant.
All three of them will be full. Because it was the one option with PSI, it was a part-time. So we are going to now have an RN, an LPN, and a medical assistant full-time. And what does that look like structurally?
Yeah, and
right now we got it covered.
Let me interject here though for a second. I mean, we had kids coming in, I'm not going to go into what the needs are, but they're coming in the district and we had to make sure we have the best facilities, and things like that. So this may change, it won't be in concrete, but we're going to do what we can to
Roll call?
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mrs. DeTore?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes. Okay, Ohio Schools Council. Do I have a motion to approve the items of approval for district membership in the Ohio Schools Council? Got that paragraph in. Motion.
All right.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Ohio Schools Council is an organization that they've been in several different districts across the state. They do a conglomerate of different things. And right here they're asking, this is straight from the language from last year's contract, correct?
Yes.
So this is what you had last year. I don't feel that I've been here long enough to really assess whether it was effective or not. However, I do believe, I've used Ohio Schools Council before, a very good organization. This, what here is, what you see in front of you, is the cost, and the co-op purchasing program, I know it's convenient, it saves money, gives us usually the best price. The legal hotline program, if I need it, I'll use it. Our legal fees have went down tremendously anyway. And the school bus purchasing, Mr. Russo, and that's something that they're already bid out, so we don't have to go through the bid process. So, I mean, those types of things are, of course, streamlined and making it more efficient, more effective for us as a district.
We did it last year, and it was pretty effective for us.
What's the legal hotline program? Can you all target and pick what you want, or is it?
I've never used them, but typically those hotlines are, you have a question, quick question, that's all, it's part of the fee. I mean, if you go into a large legal battle, federal court or something,
Can you find out how much you utilize it or not?
You can. And you can't pick and choose which one of these you want. So if you don't, you know what I mean, you don't have to have all of these.
I'm just curious as to, clearly, the school bus purchasing program, that's like a no-brainer. Is it being used? If it is, then let's get it. Are people using the legal hotline? Then okay, got it. If it's not being utilized,
or can we be utilizing it in a more efficient way more? Are we using it and how much?
And I can't go back and tell you what's been, utilized or not. I can get a report from OC, I'm sure. But I guess my point being, moving forward, I think we do that with everything. We look at our website and see what pages people look at. If they don't look at it, then we don't make any changes. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you do from an analysis standpoint to see how effective it's been and how much it's being used. So I think, to answer your question in short, we would look at this and track this throughout the year and see, something that we did or didn't use. There's going to be $10 if we don't use it.
And the legal pipeline, is that for board members also, or just for administrators?
I can't answer that. I know I can use it. I mean, as the People House Schools Council, I do not know. I don't see why I wouldn't. It's a good question. I've never been asked that question in 21 years. So I'll ask it. Yes, you can call the question first. You realize you can email it. Roll call.
Mrs. Vittori? Yes. Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Announcement of the next board meeting, our regular board meeting will be September 8th, 2014 at 7 p.m. We are moving into an executive session. There will be no action taken after that executive session, but the reason for executive session is employment and compensation of public employee or officials, Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1. I'm going to motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Paul?
Mrs. Vittori?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps? Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Hey, sweetie, ice cream tomorrow.